smiley little face. There he is. Our guest today is Tom Connelly. Tom has been a consultant in the IT industry for over 40 years, and he has a bunch of good suggestions for how to stay safe when you're out on the internet. Is that right?
That's right. How you doing, Twisted Sister?
I'm doing great. How are you doing? I forgot to disclose it's my brother. So there you go. Full disclosure, my brother is the IT nerd on the other line here. We're gonna talk a little safety tips with you today. He sent the family a bunch of them, and I'm like, you want to talk about this today? And he said he would. So here we go. What is your number one tip you've got on that little list of happy, stay safe things?
Well, basically, it's like a chain, and every link is important. So it's hard to actually pinpoint one particular topic, but password management, all that stuff is so important to keep the stuff safe, keep it in a safe place, have a place of record for the passwords, whether you use an old school notepad or if you like to keep the passwords on your laptop or desktop, keep them in an encrypted place so that they're not susceptible to people hacking in and taking your stuff. So basically, I created this site, a blog. It's called smartoveralls.com. There's a blog out there, and it lays out a lot of these data points to keep your stuff safe. So, there's things like backing up your data, keeping your viruses software up to date, keeping your operating system software up to date, cutting down on the number of apps on your machine. There's just, the list just goes on. And if you're not aware of how to do a lot of this stuff, that's what the blog kind of gives you a little more detail on how to take care of some of this stuff.
Okay, tell us the blog. How do people access that blog again? How do they access it? Hello?
There we go. I'm back. I'm sorry. I think I turned you down too low.
Yeah. My whole life, Tom, my whole life. Tell me about passwords, because everybody, so the dark web, is it real? Is there really a dark web? Is that a real thing? Because I get notices all the time that some of my passwords are there. What do you do about that?
Well, passwords are so important, and to be changing them frequently is the key to it. If you have a password that's been out there for a bunch of years, it's really a good practice to get out there and change it on a regular basis. Obviously, the more complex the password can be, the better, the more secure you'll be. Most passwords are pushing 10 and 12 characters now with special characters and, numeric numbers and, a lot of information that needs to go into the password so that it keeps it secure. But, it's also, like I said, changing that password, but also having a place that if something happens to you, that your family can get to those passwords because everything's online anymore. So
that's true. So you recommend like a password keeper of some sort or something that is accessible if people need it for whatever reason.
Right. Well, and that comes down to your comfort level. Not everybody's comfortable with some of these password keepers because it's going to be the end all for everything. But, it comes down to your comfort level, but being smart with it. So whether you use a password keeper or you keep an old school notebook, on your desktop, there's pluses and minuses to each side. So, it comes down to your comfort level and what you feel good about.
Changing a password is a hassle because sometimes that let's say it's an Amazon account and you're going to change the password, but you've got it set up on other devices. What a hassle. Now, is there an easier way to do it, or you got to go in and to everything and change it? Like if it's automatic here, like if you've got automatic things and you change your password on one spot, then all your automatic stuff doesn't work anymore because you got the old password on the old stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I guess you got to ask yourself, what's the bigger hassle, being hacked or the hassle of going?
Oh, they don't really do that, do they? They don't really do that, do they?
No.
Yeah,
No.
no, once that happens, it's a horrible thing, I'm hearing, but
Yeah.
most people don't think it's going to happen to them, right?
Right, right. Yep. And that's the real reason I put together this blog, because I found there was no real central spot that the average person could go to and say, hey, what are safe practices? So, in the blog, I talk about backing up your data, keeping your virus software current, um, using virtual credit cards. Are you familiar with a virtual credit card?
Well, what does that mean?
A virtual credit card means that each time you're on a website, it will spin up a unique credit card number for that particular site. So let's say, for example, on Amazon, you wouldn't really put your real credit card number into it. You would put a virtual credit card into it. So that if it gets hacked, you only have to crush that one instance and you'll know exactly where that credit card was used, and you can actually pinpoint who got a hold of it or what happened with it, because you've tightened it down to a particular site.
Where do you get virtual credit cards?
Yeah, virtual credit cards come from your credit card supplier. So, for example, I use one called Capital One. And on that site, it explains how to use the credit card, how to spin up a virtual instance. It's very painless, because when you go to make the purchase, it'll prompt you, do you want to use your regular credit card number, or do you want to use a virtual instance? And then it'll create this virtual instance just for that transaction, destroy it afterwards, and you don't have to worry about if a bad actor gets a hold of that, because
Well,
the
that
card is
sounds
no
like a
longer.
good way to go. I didn't even know that was an option. Is it free?
Yes, yeah. Certain credit cards or companies are offering it, so it's definitely a freebie.
And people should just go to their credit card company website to find out if they offer it for them?
Yes, yeah, that's the first place to start. And then usually there's like a Chrome extension that you plug into your browser that works with the credit card companies to manage those numbers and stuff. So definitely a really nice feature as more and more people, bad actors, get a hold of your information. The other thing I recommend is having two sets of email IDs. What you would do is you would create an email ID just for your financial stuff, your really important stuff, and you would share that with nobody. And then by doing that, you have now walled off your email ID from the rest of the world. So,
Well, if I would share it with nobody, what's the point?
Well, the point is, when you get a financial account spun up, say, for example, you use Chase Bank, right? And you get all your communications through Chase Bank through this special email ID that you've spun up. You will know that when you get spam, if it comes to the real one or whether it comes to your fake one, that this particular ID would be spam, because you would know, hey, the spammers all know my real one that's in the public domain. They won't know my real one, my financial one, as I would call it. So the point is by having the two separate email IDs, when you get bona fide, legit emails, you will know it came from Chase, for example, or E-Trade or whoever. And then whatever's in that inbox, that's genuine. Those are real communications coming from your lending institution, your Social Security, whatever you're dealing with. So you're not have to worry that you've got this email that comes in and says, hey, click here because your Social Security number is in breach. Well, that's going to be like spam, because it goes to your public one that all the bad actors are getting access to.
So I guess I kind of do that, because I have one that I use for shopping and looking and crap like that, stuff that you don't really, not real serious stuff. And then I've got a real one that I use for like regular everyday stuff, but one's for junk mail, more like junk mail.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you just want to be very disciplined and keep that private one private and the public one public. If you really get serious and you've got all your financial stuff tied around your financial email ID, you don't have to worry about people spamming you and sending you fake links. And that's the other thing is you get a lot of emails today, and you can't tell what's real or what's fake because of all of the generative AI stuff out there. So, the next good rule is if you get something from Chase, don't click on that link. If you get something from the Social Security Administration, don't click on that link. Go directly to the website and look up whatever that email is telling you to do.
Or go to the website and find a phone number and call them, because clicking on that link can expose your information to the bad guy.
Yes. Yeah. So.
Groovy. Okay. So what other stay safe methods do you recommend that people do? The big thing now is that AI, man, there's so many fake websites out there that you can shop on, and they'll get your information and they make it look really real. They put the logos on. Some of them even use celebrities, like fake celebrity, like impersonate celebrities to, vouch for the site or whatever, and they're all fake. How do you tell?
Well, that's a really good question, because they are looking so real thanks to AI. It's just a matter of doing your diligence, checking reviews, checking links that are going to tell you whether or not these sites are a hack site. I just had one the other day for equipment, John Deere equipment, and it was one of those that looked too good to be true. It was like, wow, what a great deal. But, I went around the back door and I looked up where the site was physically hosted. Well, it was hosted in Iceland. So right there, but yet they were using a legit address up in Utah of an implement dealer. So I notified.
They're getting sophisticated, yeah.
Yeah. So when I notified the implement dealer, he's like, he was aware of it, but he thought he already had notified the proper officials. So in my blog is a place to actually notify people in the proper procedures to notify a bad site that may be fraudulent.
Who do you notify?
Well, there's a whole list on there. Let me pull it up for you.
Do you know? But you normally, you notify who? The legitimate site, that there's a fake site out there, if you've ever figured out. But we see most people can't do what you did. Most people don't know how to go to the back door and see where this IP is coming from. That's not something most people can do. So you got to look for things like misspelled words, or like if it's coming. Like if it's a text that comes from an email, that's fake. If there's other ways to identify if it's fake out there, yeah.
Right. That's the old school obvious way, but with ChatGPT, the sites are looking so sophisticated that it's difficult to sort through the stuff. So it's just a matter of being vigilant and looking at things from a different lens when you're looking at these particular sites. If you do have to report something, you first contact the hosting provider or the domain registrar. And that's, again, like you said, Tami, this is kind of getting hairier than what most people want to get into, because, who wants to go do a whoas and go look up that particular IP address and who's hosting it. Other places you can go to is the Federal Trade Commission and report that particular site there. Google search also has an abuse for ads location. The IC3 site is also for Internet Crime Compliance Center for the FBI. And then, like if it's on Facebook, you just email Facebook directly. It's support@facebook.com to say, hey, this thing doesn't look legit. So,
I'm surprised at the amount of fake ads on Facebook. There's a lot, in my opinion. Like there shouldn't be any. They should be doing their homework and not letting those things on, in my opinion. But I
agree. I think they're turning a blind eye to them because they're getting revenue off of them. They're not looking at the holistic picture of the consumer's good here. So it's sad but true what you're pointing out, because this particular site was flagged several times, and they continue to not only allow it to be up but promote it.
Mm-hmm. No, so you can't trust. I used to think you can trust these sites that are going to get rid of these kind of bad players on there, but they don't. They just don't. Right. And so you can't click especially Facebook. It's full of fake ads,
Yes. Yeah, it really is. It's really sad. So, but other things you can do to protect yourself is turn on credit monitoring, right? So you can make sure you're getting reports of things that are happening against your credit, block your credit score. That's a second option. Are you familiar with locking your credit score?
You would do that if there was an inquiry into your credit that you didn't do, or something that you like. When would you do that?
Well, you basically would turn it on. This is a proactive measure. So you would turn it on against your Social Security number and your husband's Social Security number. And what that says is nobody can bump up against your credit and obtain any credit information without you unlocking it. So let's say, for example, you went to buy a car and you forgot to turn this off. You walk in there, I'm going to buy the car, you're going to buy it on credit. First thing you're going to do is run a credit report on you. Well, guess what's going to happen if you have the credit lock turned on? It's going to fail.
They're going to get denied.
Yep. So all you do is you jump on your phone, you say, okay, I'll turn this off for a day, and boom, the credit report goes through, and you can now proceed with the purchase of this vehicle in your name for your credit. Without that, somebody gets a hold of your data, and they can walk into a car dealership and buy a car on your dime, and you're the one stuck scrambling to get it off. So locking your credit report is huge to be proactive to keep, again, bad actors getting at your data.
Is that the same thing as a freeze?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. I've had, freeze. But they've frozen mine before after somebody used my card fraudulently. So then they went and froze all my credit. And then I had to go undo it, like you said. When we applied for stuff, you undo it when you apply for it, and then you can put it back on. And is it easy to do? Where do they go to do? If people wanted to put a lock on their Social Security number and their spouse's Social Security, where do you go to do that?
You go to the 3 credit monitoring companies. I think it's Axiom, TRW, and there's a third. And you turn them on individually at each site.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And then it's really good practice to be proactive with it, because just like in your case, right, the horse is out of the barn, they're freezing it, but the damage is done. So to be proactive, people want to turn this on today, now, and then, that way, if something happens against their credit, they're going to get notified. Hey, somebody was just out at, the Hyundai dealer, trying to buy a car in your name, and unfortunately, Hyundai dealer.
And then, are you notified when they ding? Of course you are. When they ding against it, you'll get a notification that who it is and what they're looking to buy or do or whatever.
Exactly. And along that same vein, all your financial transactions, you want those to be notifying you. You want email. So you want to go onto your Chase bank account and say, hey, anytime there's a transaction, I want an email. I want that coming to my phone, or I want a text, or I want some notification, so that if your account is being tampered with, right away, you'll get those different notifications.
Do they go in and shut those off? I mean, would somebody stealing your credit card know how to shut that off, or no?
They could. Yeah. Well, if they got access into your financial stuff, there's no reason that they couldn't. But usually when you turn them off, you're getting notified of those at that time also.
That's true. Did you turn it off? Yeah, you'll get a question. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's just a lot of things that people can do to be proactive, and it's so important now because the internet is such a big part of everybody's life. And if you're beyond that point where you can do these types of things, people need to find a mentor or a guardian or a parent or somebody that makes sure that they're overseeing and making sure they're safe. I know, our own mother, we had to take her off the internet, at one point, just because she was getting into mischievous stuff. So.
Well, she didn't know it, but she was. Yeah. Well, and that unfortunately is who becomes the biggest victim of these, is like older people who aren't real savvy on the internet, which we're hoping some of these tips you're hearing today can help you. Now, tell folks again about this blog and where they can find that.
Okay, that's at www.smartoverhauls.com.
Smart Overhauls.
Yeah.
Overalls, like I wear overalls?
No, like if you took your car and you needed a lot of work done to it, they would overhaul it.
HAULS, overhauls?
Yeah.
Okay,
yes.
.com.
Yeah.
Yes. .com. Smart Overhauls, HAULS.com is the name of the blog. There it is. He's got it up on the screen for us. Time to reboot your technology. And anybody can go access that, look around, get some tips.
So
see
click
if you
in the upper right corner, which is our blog.
There it is.
There it is. There's all the good stuff you need to know.
To kind of help you out. Just have a little tool through there. There's lots of great tips on there, and if you need more information, it's all available on that blog for you. Well, you hear our happy music there, Mr. Tom. It's time for us to take another break, but thanks for coming on and getting people safer on the internet, because it's a dangerous place sometimes.
You're welcome.
All right.
Have a good day.
Yep, you too. Thanks. Happy Earth Day.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.